Well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar that focuses on identifying the sustainability certifications that are best for your product. I'm Molly Hughes with Softly Solutions. So today we'll be talking about some of the latest trends in sustainability certifications, trends that prompted today's guests to rebrand their long-standing, well-recognized certification. We're going to be talking to a couple of amazing professionals that are behind this change about the new initiatives at ClimeCo. They have a public comment period that's coming up regarding this, so it's your chance to weigh in on the changes. So if you're considering getting a carbon or climate-related eco-label, make sure you stick with us to learn more. You know, it used to be that businesses would get sustainability certifications, also known as eco-labels, primarily to bolster customer trust. But today there's so many more advantages. For one thing, eco-labels can help protect your business from reputational and regulatory risk of greenwashing and can aid in ESG reporting requirements. They also bring opportunities in the way of qualification for new retail and government programs that increase product visibility and open up new sales channels. Softly has the data and the insights to help identify greenwashing risk, as well as resources to help you optimize your return on investment and sustainability. We also have a library of webinars, each featuring a different sustainability certification, such as plastic neutral, global organic textile, safer choice, leaping bunny, and more. These webinars can be found on our Softly Solutions website. All right, so let's bring in today's guests. From ClimeCo, we have Linda Kelly and Preeti Shanker. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you, Molly.
Thank you, Molly.
So it is always fun to start by learning a little bit about each of you. So let's start with you, Linda. How did your involvement in sustainability begin?
Well, really, it began when I was a child. I grew up outside of Austin, Texas, and I still think of my mother as one of the original environmentalists. She volunteered for the Red Cross for 70 consecutive years and did a lot of disaster relief work around the country and was able to see the incremental increases in extreme weather events and attributed it to climate change. We had peach orchards in our garden in Austin and no DDT. So as my mother used to say, we shared them with the insects because they have to eat too. So that's really where I got, my foundation in caring about the environment. I've always done a lot of volunteer work there. And then about 12 years ago, I had the opportunity to go back to school and received a master's in environmental law and policy, and joined carbonfund.org Foundation, which last year became part of ClimeCo.
I love that story. I love that you had that foundation, and I wish more people did today even. So I think, as we continue to have more visibility around sustainability and these kind of issues, it's talked about more in schools, that there will be more families just like yours.
Thanks.
Okay, so Preeti, why don't you tell me how you got your start?
Yeah, sure, Molly. So I started my career in corporate law. I was working as in-house legal counsel, and sustainability and the environment was something that I always was passionate about, conserving natural ecosystems and resources and stuff like that. But like Linda said, it was always something that I did during my volunteer time. I volunteered with some foundations, and that was the extent of which how I could be involved with what I was truly passionate about. Now, that began to change a few years ago once companies started shifting from CSR to like more broader sustainability. They started realizing what a big undertaking this is and how cross-functional it needs to be. So sustainability as a career started to open up a few years ago. So I did pretty much what Linda did. I put myself through school, got a master's degree in sustainability. It was a very multidisciplinary type of degree. I got to learn a lot of things that helped me put together the puzzle really that sustainability is. And since the past 7 years, I've been part of the sustainability field. So I now get to do what I love doing full time.
Yeah. So, and I love now, because when you start in it earlier, the last couple of years, especially when it comes to ESG reporting and things like that, you're kind of seeing, all your labor or love that you put into it coming to fruition a little bit more. So that has to be pretty fulfilling.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
It is very fulfilling. Like I said, there was a time when we had more people wanting to enter the sustainability field and not as many jobs around. I am loving it that it has flipped now.
Mhm.
It's a field that is growing and hiring, and so many folks are able to fulfill their passions now. So it's
Mhm.
very fulfilling to see that.
Yeah, and more businesses are embracing this, including businesses that are watching today. So, what I want to do is today I want to talk through some of the new trends in sustainability, some of which prompted you to take on a major undertaking, which includes rebranding an eco label that a lot of us are familiar with, the certified carbon free,
Mhm.
and changing it to ClimeCo Certified. But before we talk about what really prompted that change, let's walk through the history of the carbon free certification. So I think, Linda, I'm going to put it to you to kind of talk through that a little bit.
Sure. And so you mentioned the Carbon Free Product Certification Program is a program that was founded by carbonfund.org Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
It was launched back in 2007. So again, there was sufficient consumer interest and pressure to identify products that were more environmentally sustainability as long as 15 years ago. That program was, very successful for Carbon Fund. We had a lot of companies that enrolled their products. Again, it's based on conducting a cradle to grave life cycle assessment of that physical product to determine the product's carbon footprint, look for ways to reduce that carbon footprint as much as possible,
Mm-hmm.
and then to neutralize the unavoidable, uneliminatable emissions by supporting third-party validated and verified voluntary carbon offset projects. The program really kicked up about 3 years ago when Amazon launched their Climate Pledge Friendly product badging initiative. And so, for
Mm-hmm.
those who are not familiar with that program, I think Amazon currently has maybe 50 different
Mm-hmm.
sustainability related certification programs. And I do believe we were one of the first companies they talked to back in spring of 2020 about including the carbon free product certification program because it had been around for quite a while and had global market recognition. But that program has certainly increased the interest in our
Mm-hmm.
product certification program and has expanded it greatly over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, if you can get that climate pledge friendly badge by getting one of those 50 certifications that they bring into their program, you do get about 10% higher viewership. So you can search by climate pledge friendly, but then just organically,
Mhm.
the viewership is higher because they put sometimes those products on a higher level. So it's certainly, if you're looking at a sustainability label and you come and you're talking to Softly, we're always going to suggest one that's on the Amazon list. When we were looking at that slide before, it also showed that Wayfair has a program.
Mhm.
There's many
Yep.
programs out there now, but Wayfair is another big one. They bring in certifications, but they're not always exactly the same as Amazon. So what we try to do is kind of triangulate that all, kind of figure out where a company, where their products kind of lie and figure out, hey, which is going to be the best one for you. And a lot of times that ends up being your certification. Um, so what kind of products are best for your certification?
So, really, one of the things that's great about a certification program that's based on assessing a product's carbon footprint and looking for ways to reduce that is it can apply to any physical product. So, when we're talking about Amazon's and Wayfair's program, some of those certifications are specific to material types, so wool or cotton or wood or something like that. But any product, any consumer product, any physical product
Mhm.
can go through a life cycle assessment to determine its product's carbon footprint. So there really is no limitation on the types
Mhm.
of products, and we do have a very broad cross section of industries
Mhm.
represented within our program.
So then once you get the carbon footprint established,
Mhm.
then to actually get the certification, do you have to have the offsets? Purchase the offsets for whatever remainder is there. Is that how it works?
There really are a few stages. So once you've
Okay.
worked with a life cycle assessment practitioner to complete that full narrative, cradle to grave life cycle assessment report. That's submitted to ClimeCo for our review and approval.
Okay.
The application also has to have a carbon emission reduction plan. So the company has to put forward a carbon emission reduction plan that they intend to follow to address emissions throughout their operations, but operational emissions that have an impact on the product's carbon footprint, so that they can show that they've got a path, a roadmap towards continuing to make reductions in their product's carbon footprint. So that's a very important element of the program, and one that will be really increased in emphasis going forward. Then, yes, once we've evaluated products, registered them into our program, we work with companies to forecast the annual sales for those registered products. And then it's math, multiply the number of sales times the product's carbon footprint, and that gives you resulting total carbon emissions caused by those registered product sales. And then that determines the quantity of carbon offset credits that the company needs to work with ClimeCo to purchase, and then have ClimeCo retire on their behalf.
Okay. And we'll talk a little bit more about that and the actual, process in a little bit. So going kind of back to the rebranding, what did you guys see in the market that was going on that made you think, hey, this is something we need to do?
Well, part of it was just as a result of the fact that ClimeCo purchased the majority assets of Carbon Fund about a year ago. ClimeCo purchased the Carbon Fund name, the website, the programs, the logos, the relationships, and 4 staff members from Carbon Fund came over to ClimeCo. So it was inevitable that we would do a rebranding into the one ClimeCo brand. Right. And as we were working through those decisions, we were watching a lot of what's going on in the marketplace. And it's really interesting right now because on a daily basis, I can read as many articles that are questioning or unsure about claims of carbon neutrality, and as many claims of companies launching new products and launching new programs for carbon neutrality. So we're in kind of a mixed market in terms of perception, but we wanted to be sure that our program is as clear and as transparent and as rigorous as possible. So we've moved into the ClimeCo branding, which gave us an opportunity to simply rename the program ClimeCo Certified Products, and to shift some of the emphasis on those carbon emission reductions and the ongoing reductions to the product carbon footprint, and also to better guide the companies that are registering their products into our program as to how those statements and claims should be communicated.
Got it. Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit about that also in a second. So we're not going to see this new logo on products quite yet. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, there was a little pause there.
Yeah. So we're not going to see this new logo as a consumer. I'm out shopping. I'm not going to see that quite yet. We'll still see the other one for a while. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, because there's a process involved. Anytime that you take a certification program and make major rebranding, renaming, edits and changes, enhancements to the actual program protocol, at least the process we follow will include a 30-day public comment period, time for us to then absorb those comments and make any additional revisions. And at the same time, both Amazon and Wayfair are looking at their programs, so we need to stay aligned with the requirements that they have for their certification program.
Yeah, that makes sense. So kind of going back to what you said about putting together kind of like a media kit that helps people with their claims. That's a big thing because a company cannot just put a claim on a product that says we are carbon neutral without having the paperwork and the backing that shows that they actually have that, either your certification or some other life cycle assessment. But there's companies that do that. They make kind of vague claims, we're planet friendly, we're climate friendly, we're, whatever. And what we're seeing is, governance kind of, cracking down on that. The EU and the European Union, they passed governance recently that will be going into effect, in about a year from now, that says that no claims could be made on products without having a third-party verification. And I'm sure you're very, well aware the green guides in the United States are, we're kind of waiting for their new guidance that will be coming out as well. So what kind of advice do you give to companies right now that are like, hey, I'm not sure what I can say and what I can't say? Is there anything kind of like a rule of thumb?
Well, we work very, very closely with our clients and with companies that have products registered into our program on their communication strategy and their marketing strategy for their certified products. I think in a phrase, we work with companies to do what they're saying and say what they're doing. Nothing more, nothing less. So we really want to ensure that the company clearly understands the process that they're going through for this product certification, and that's the piece that gets communicated.
And kind of get rid of that vagueness. It sounds like be pretty specific about what you have and don't have.
Correct.
So tell me a little bit more about ClimeCo. You come in as a carbon fund coming into a larger company that has more offerings.
Yeah, so ClimeCo it's a fabulous company. I've been here now for a year and it's been wonderful. ClimeCo is a full services global environmental solutions firm. We are involved in carbon offset project development, carbon offset project methodology development. We provide the full range of sustainability policy advisory, reporting, consultancy, and we also source carbon credits and other environmental commodities for our clients from any projects anywhere in the world that are third-party validated and verified to standards that we accept and that our review team confirms.
So what I kind of hear you saying is you're helping companies really make operational changes. So you have your certification that also includes offsets, but these are operational changes to help companies make better practices, really for our world. So on that note, what kind of new trends are we seeing out there right now?
Well, so I would say one of the biggest, broadest trends that we're seeing really is to leverage sustainability initiatives to provide value to a company and to its clients and to its stakeholders and investors. So that's really sort of an overall umbrella in what we're seeing. But more and more companies are engaged in their sustainability initiatives and their environmental impact reduction measures. And they're looking to invest in these areas, but they want it to deliver value back to their organization and all of their stakeholders.
Right. So Preeti, when you consult, with businesses, what's usually their kind of first line of, hey, this is what we're going to tackle first, or does it really depend on the company?
It does depend on the company a fair bit. Sometimes we have companies that approach us with a very clear understanding of what they exactly want. For example, we want to set a net zero target. Can you help us? And can you also help us get to net zero? So in those cases, what ClimeCo will do is it really works well because ClimeCo is a vertically integrated company. We have the advisory team that helps them understand their net zero goals. First, get an understanding of where they stand today. What is their footprint today? What is their operations today? And then help them set that net zero goal. And then pass it over to our project development team to help them identify projects that will help them reduce emissions within their supply chain. And then, pass them on to our transactions team that can help them with any sort of offset purchases that they may require for the emissions that are absolutely unavoidable and that are residual. So in that sense, it's a clear journey for a customer, and that's where the vertical integration of ClimeCo really helps the client. Have a partner that you can work with for a longer period of time, who understands your business and your operations and your specific goal. And then there are other times where we get clients who know that they care about sustainability and need to respond to external stakeholder requests or regulatory requests, but don't know where to begin. So in that case, our role becomes even more of a mentor and an advisor, where we try to understand, okay, which interventions would make sense for you now? Where do we begin? What path do you want to follow? And what is your end goal? Are you focused on regulatory requirements? Are you focused on speaking to your stakeholders? Is this a strategic move in terms of mergers and acquisitions that you may be doing or you may be being considered for? So a lot of things go into that, and the specific goals of the client and the company usually dictate what approach we take.
So when you first start working with businesses, is it usually that first step that's the hardest? Kind of like almost like exercising, you get in there and then I guess it gets easier, over time or,
Yeah.
any kind of changes we make in our lives, even personally. I'm kind of thinking for them, it might be the same thing. Hey, we don't know where to start. So you do an analysis, you kind of look at what they're doing now and decide, hey, this is where maybe you can, move going forward. What about just like, in the office, like in the office, where do you, actually, I shouldn't even say that in the office, where do you see the biggest impact? Let's say not a manufacturing business, I'm a business that has office buildings, people work in offices. Where's the biggest impact that you can usually see being made? Or I guess it could be a manufacturer too, because I have to be having some sort of product coming out. So
When you say biggest impact, is that the footprint you're
that's what I
talking
was
about?
kind of thinking
Oh,
was
okay. Got
probably
it. Got
carbon
it.
footprint, going toward net zero, but you have other metrics that you're measuring as well.
Right.
So,
Right.
what ones seem to be like, the business afterwards is like, wow, that was so, what a good thing, good change that we made because we actually can now measure this and we're seeing improvement.
Right. So I think the biggest footprint contributor for each company is different. So if you're a manufacturing company, a lot of your emissions may be coming from your manufacturing activities, the supply chain that you have, the distribution network that you have. If you're a services company, it's a little bit different. It's most of your office usage that is contributing to your footprint and the metrics that need to be measured. So when we go in and work with these different types of clients, whether it's manufacturing or services, the biggest aha moment or the most impactful um, the most impactful moment for them is we help them shine a light on their operations, because that's where we begin, right? We help you understand your operations a lot better, the energy used in your operations, the environmental impact of your operations, the social impact of your operations. So it helps companies look at their business in a different light. And then you start to see a lot of light bulbs going on saying, oh, this is an area that we can be really more efficient. Yes, it drives our sustainability initiatives, but also as a business drive and deliver value. So a lot of those moments are really impactful and like aha moments. We're saying, oh,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
a lot of times companies get surprised by what is the biggest contributor. They don't anticipate it. They're surprised by which source ended up being the biggest contributor.
Yeah, I bet a lot of people have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of people in their homes that have no idea, um, probably me included. So,
And Molly, I,
a
I
pretty good
wanted to
guess,
tie,
but
sorry, Molly, I wanted to tie this back a little bit to the product certification process and going through
Mhm.
that product lifecycle
yes,
assessment,
yes.
which is a big investment for companies. It
Mhm.
is time consuming. It's a lot of data, a lot of details. There's a price tag involved. But I've yet, in the 12 years I've been managing this program, I've yet to work with a company that did not receive value
Yeah.
just
Mhm.
by going through that product lifecycle assessment process. They find reductions in materials, they find reductions in costs, they find reductions in timeframes, and a good LCA practitioner will help them identify opportunities for reductions in that product's life cycle, in
Mhm.
its supply chain, that the company can achieve, which is why developing that carbon emission reduction plan with your LCA practitioner works so well in tandem with completing that product LCA.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, kind of on that note, I do want to talk through the process for getting certified for you and kind of how it's changed. But I first want to say if anybody does have a question, please put them in the chat and I will be monitoring that and make sure that we get over to those. So let's talk a little bit about the changes. And if somebody says, hey, this is really intriguing to me, I want to learn more, how do they do this?
Yeah, so I can speak to a little bit about this. The When we went into revamping and upgrading this protocol, we really had three important goals in mind. I think Linda touched upon this before, but basically we wanted to make this process as clear and easy for the companies that are participating. It is a fairly technical process, and like Linda said, it is intensive. So we wanted to eliminate as many back and forth interactions that may be required and make it as easy and clear as possible for the company. So introducing that clarity in this protocol was one of our big goals. So we've done that by adding very clear 7-step process for our certification. Any company that comes in and looks at our protocol will be very easily able to say, okay, this is what I need to do, here's where I'm at, these are the steps that are remaining for me to get my certification. So we've clarified that process a lot, and added a lot of clarity to the requirements and the templates. So we've provided templates and recommended guidelines for how can you submit the required documentation to us. A lot of things that companies struggle with is there are a variety of LCA providers out there. They work with them, but there is no standard format in which they know how to submit that documentation to us. So we've gone ahead and given them some templates to work with for that. Another big goal with this update for us was we wanted to integrate the program within the ClimeCo suite of services. Now that offers more opportunity for ClimeCo to work with these companies and help them decarbonize. But we wanted to make sure that in doing that, there are no conflicts of interest. We want to make sure that if the client wants to work with ClimeCo as the LCA provider, because we do LCAs too, if you want to work with ClimeCo as the LCA provider, then we'll make sure that an independent third party is reviewing what we worked on. So there is that introduction of independence and transparency and credibility to that process, which was very important to us. So we've made sure that there is a third party verification step involved now.
Nice.
And the final thing that was important to us, and Linda talked about this already, is that carbon emissions reductions. So a big goal for ClimeCo and with this protocol has been the product LCA report and registering the products within this program. Buying offsets are a great first step to start showing your climate commitments as a company, and distinguishing your products to the consumers. But it is only a first step, and we want to make sure that we emphasize that actual emissions reductions within your operations are important if we are all to advance towards that climate goal. With this new protocol, what we've done is we've added more emphasis on the carbon reductions and also provided more clarity on, okay, what does that mean? What kind of initiatives should you be reporting to us about? What happens when you come back to us for year two? Have you worked on those reductions that you talked about? So we're making that clearer for the companies and are also available to provide that guidance to them. So that's been our goal with this update.
What kind of audit timeline do you guys have? Is it like a yearly renewal or a 3-year renewal, or what is it?
I can request Linda to add more clarity to this, but yes, it is an annual renewal process. The LCA report that the company submits to us is valid for 3 years, unless there have been any changes in your operations or in your processes that would have changed the footprint. But the certification itself is an annual renewal. I'll cue to you, Linda.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely correct, Preeti. So annually, we work with companies to review that carbon emission reduction plan to see what accomplishments they've achieved in the previous year and what goals they're setting for the coming years. And then we also do ask the companies to validate and attest to any changes in that product's life cycle or lack thereof. So if there's been no changes to the product's life cycle, then we can continue to rely on that LCA report for the subsequent year and continue to rely on those product carbon footprint values. But if there's been a change, if materials in the product's manufacturing process have changed, if manufacturing locations have changed, distribution channels have changed, to the extent that they're anticipated to impact that product's carbon footprint and increase it, then that does require an update to that LCA to address those areas that have changed. Typically, you don't have to do a full LCA again within the first 3 to 5 years. But you do have to make updates to areas that have changed.
Yeah, and in life cycle analysis, they can be done by an outside company. Do you have a list of them? Are there only certain ones, or do you take whatever they've gotten?
Yeah, so we've tried to stay a little bit neutral on the selection of a life cycle assessment practitioner. We simply give the directives that the full narrative LCA report has to meet the requirements of our protocol, which are based on well-established international standards for the calculation methodologies to come up with a product carbon footprint value. So
Right.
there are many types of professionals out there that are able to complete those types of reports. We have a list of LCA practitioners with whom we've worked frequently, and we know that they have high quality work. So we certainly can help guide companies in that way. And we also certainly suggest that when companies are talking with LCA providers, that they're asking about the experience within their product industry. And then, of course, asking about processes, timelines, costs, et cetera.
Does ClimeCo offer that service, or can you?
We do. ClimeCo can actually conduct the product lifecycle assessment, but if ClimeCo conducts your product LCA, then you must go to an outside third-party lifecycle assessment practitioner to have our LCA third-party reviewed and assured. So we cannot perform the LCA and accept you into our certification. There has to be a third-party step.
Yep, makes total sense. So we see on the right-hand side talking a little bit about consumers and why it's important to them. But I actually do have a question that kind of has to do with that, I think. It says, I know carbon-free certification was available to not only businesses, but also individuals who want to offset their carbon footprint. Do you still have that program?
We still offer carbon credits and ways that individuals can come and make purchases to neutralize their home's energy consumption or their annual automobile transportation. It's not a certification program. It's simply an opportunity for an individual to come and calculate their carbon footprint from various activities, make a purchase of carbon credits to neutralize those emissions. They receive a certificate, a piece of paper that has their name and shows the quantity of credits, but it's not a formal certification of their activities. This product certification program is, again, very specific, based on very rigorous methodologies and international standards.
Got it. There's another question. Aside from energy, employee travel and commuting is typically an easy win that companies can address. With RTO and flying to see customers back on the table, offsetting or driving efficiencies for travel and commuting is a quick and easy way for companies to reduce their carbon footprint so the employees can feel good about traveling. So that it's more of a comment, I think, than a question. And absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an interesting post-COVID return to commuting and to business travel. And I think we hope that companies have learned a lot about the impact of those travel emissions and are finding more efficient ways and more environmentally conscious ways of conducting employee travel.
Yeah, absolutely. Another question, is carbon the only element measured in the LCA?
Our LCAs measure really all of the principal greenhouse gases. So the 6 principal greenhouse gases. It's a little bit sloppy in our industry, I guess. We tend to use carbon kind of as a catch-all. But we really are talking about carbon dioxide emission equivalents or greenhouse gases.
So emissions, yep. Another question. First of all, she says, thanks for the conversation today. When does ClimeCo plan to release communication guidance for approved public messaging about the new certification?
So we are going to issue a 30-day public comment period of our revised and rebranded program and protocol that will begin November 1st. And so we'll be taking public comments through our website, through press releases, through the month of November. And then our team will analyze those comments and questions. We will be ready to formally relaunch by January. But again, we've got to kind of coordinate with changes that the Amazon Climate Pledge Friendly is making and that Wayfair Shop Sustainably may be making. So we really can't give a specific relaunch date at this point, but we very likely by January will start enforcing some of the new requirements of our program. We simply won't be able to use a rebranded name, a rebranded logo, et cetera, until those changes have been approved by other organizations like Amazon and Wayfair.
Yeah. At the very end, I'll actually put up a slide that kind of shows this timeline for that public open period. So another question, can small businesses participate in ClimeCo Certified Product Program?
Absolutely. Small businesses can. Again, there are upfront costs to consider. So going through the product LCA process, there is a cost involved with that. And there's a cost to both register products and pre-purchase carbon credits when you first enter the program. So for some small businesses, the cost can be a bit of a hurdle, but it's certainly something we have many small businesses in the program. So it's really just a decision of the cost benefits of entering into the program.
Yep. And here's that slide that I talked about before that has how to get a hold of you. And that's really kind of some good questions that can be asked as they start walking through the process to decide if they're at the place that it's time to go forward with a certification like this.
Yeah. And I'll just mention that January 2024 official launch, that is our target.
Okay.
So, but again, dependent on some other organizations.
Official hopeful launch. So I want to talk a little bit before we go about offsetting, because businesses are, I think, understanding it pretty well now, but I think there's still a little bit in the general public that don't really understand offsetting. They still think of it as, hey, you're just paying your way out. And so I just kind of want your thoughts on it. And then I want to talk through some of the programs or projects that you have in your offsetting.
So in general, the thing that's very important to understand about voluntary carbon offset projects is that these projects go through a very rigorous third-party validation and verification process. And it does come down to the quality of those assessments. And so within ClimeCo, because ClimeCo also is a very well-experienced, broad and deep carbon offset project developer. Our team has so much expertise in what it takes to get a project through that validation and verification.
Give people who may not know what is a project. What's it look like? Give just an example.
So we're starting there. So
just
project
one. You don't need to. You don't need to go into a lot.
Well, they break down into a few different categories. So the easy categories to look for are energy efficiency projects, industrial emission abatement projects, renewable energy projects, and broadly speaking, sort of nature-based, any kind of land, forest, conservation projects. And the project activity is something that must prove that it will not go forward. This project won't happen unless it can qualify for the issuance and sale of carbon offset credits. That's a funding mechanism to get this project to go forward. And the activities of the project have to prove that they will do something to remove, avoid, or sequester carbon or destroy carbon dioxide, greenhouse gas emissions through its activities, something that it would not be able to achieve without the funding mechanism of selling the carbon offset credits.
So as an example, the one you always hear about is planting trees. So, not deforestation, but forestation, projects. Yeah. But there's a lot more than that, So I think, so as a business, does a business specifically get to pick which projects they would like to invest in?
We have different tiers for the quantity of carbon offset credits that a business is going to select. So we have to meet certain minimum purchase requirements from various projects. Often we can offer a company the ability to select the category of project. So if they want to support nature-based projects or renewable energy projects, we can give them that opportunity. We can also give them the opportunity to select specific geographies if projects exist in that geography. And then for larger purchases, we do get involved with project-specific purchases that meet those projects' minimum purchase requirements, and even developing a portfolio of multiple projects so that a company can align its ESG goals and strategies and messaging and preferences to the kind of projects it's supporting.
Got it. Got it. So we are about coming up on the time that we like to keep this webinar at. So I think I'm going to wrap it up. We might not have got to all the audience questions, but they can certainly reach out to you. This webinar will be available on our website, so they can look back and kind of see, emails and things like that. But before I let you go, is there anything that you would like to add and make sure that you get out before we say goodbye?
I certainly want to thank you, Molly. I want to thank you and the team at Softly Solutions for this opportunity. It was really well timed, given that we've been working on these rebranding and changes. And I think that your organization is providing a really valuable service because there certainly is a maze of sustainability certifications out there. And so we're very pleased that our certification program is one that Softly Solutions evaluates within your platform.
Yeah. So just so you know, there's about 475 that we've identified of certifications. Some of them are very niche or niche in the, kind of food industry, but there's a lot to pick from. So, we very, very strongly believe you need to pick ones that are reputable, doing the right thing, and have it together. Preeti, is there anything else that you would like to add?
No, same along the same lines, Molly. I think it's been great to be featured on the Softly webinar. You guys are doing a great job creating this platform for consumers. I've been on the side where on the advisory side where we try to advise clients on which certifications to pick, and it is a massive effort. It is a massive effort to align the client's priorities to what's out there and still make it credible and tangible and deliver the goals that the client is looking for. So the fact that Softly is able to provide a platform that is able to do that is phenomenal. So yeah, we're very happy to be part of this.
Well, thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. And have a great day, ladies. I appreciate you being on.
Thank you, Molly.
Yeah.
Thank you for the invitation. Appreciate it.
So no matter what kind of consumer product you have, our focus at Softly is to simplify sustainability for you. We can not only help you find the best eco label, like Preeti said, for your products, but we also help businesses by providing insights and intelligence having to do with sustainability that will give your business a competitive advantage. So please reach out to us to learn more. Furthermore, we do have a platform that will take your sustainability message straight to the consumer. It's our personal sustainable shopping assistant. This is a free download that consumers can get on the Chrome Web Store or at getsoftly.com. We elevate and suggest sustainable products that are certified to be what they say they are, such as ClimeCo Certified, and it's available to Amazon shoppers. So as a reminder, this is a free live webinar. It is also recorded. So this recording will be available on our website and you can access it at any time. So I would like to say thank you so much for being with us today. Please join us again. Have a great day, everyone, and tread softly on this world.